I did a video on TikTok and I got a lot of people asking me, provide alternatives for us if you are saying that mutual funds, treasury bills, fixed income instruments are not the best route for people who are starting their journey and want to truly create wealth over time for themselves. So what are those alternatives? This is what I'm going to say. When you want to start investing and your goal is to create wealth, then you have to make sure that your compounded returns over time is beating inflation. Now, what is inflation what is the inflation figure in Nigeria? 34%, thereabout. In the US, you have inflation around, let's say, 4%, thereabout. And so if you're investing in anything that is not beating inflation, then your money is still losing value or is just stagnant. Some people will say, oh, but I got 20% in my investment in a mutual fund in Nigeria. But inflation is 34%. So you made a negative return of 14%. So you are not creating wealth. You are just investing in something that is just helping you to just move along, you know. And that's why I said it's not necessarily bad. It's just that you have to know the goal of what you're doing, which is you have your money in, maybe let's call it a high yield savings account. Maybe that's an emergency fund for you. Maybe that's a project money for you. You don't want to go and put it in an investment that is going to probably be volatile, right? So that's why you are there. Now, for alternatives that have the potential to beat inflation, that's where you have things like ETFs, exchange traded fund. And I'm speaking about ETFs that are traded in the foreign market, like the US market. So we have ETFs just like a basket. It has a lot of companies inside. It could be 30 companies, it could be 200, it could be 500. You invest and then your money is spread across, and then you have returns over time. It could be 10% compounded over time, because 10% is beating inflation in the US. It could be 15%. It could even be 20% over time. That is ETF. That can be one of the vehicles. Now, the second one is individual stocks. Now, that is where you really see a lot of volatility up and down. But then the point is, when you focus on the long term, you're able to see a lot of growth in your assets. Look at Meta, for example. In 2022, Meta was around $100. And right now, Meta is about $700. So that's about 600 and something percent gain in just 2 to 3 years. Tesla, about 500%. Think of all of them. And some of these companies have been doing so well over time. It doesn't mean that there's not been volatility along the way. Things have not been bad. But then over time, they give you exponential returns on your money. And so imagine being in Nigeria and investing in those kind of assets. You are significantly beating inflation in such a manner that by the time you are getting your money back and even changing it back to your currency, that's the Naira, you then have also hedged against the Naira devaluation. So you have two goals you're achieving. You are hedging against Naira devaluation, and you're also beating inflation significantly. Another one, of course, is real estate. But then we can discuss real estate some other time. Most of you already know about real estate, right? Have digital assets as well, cryptocurrency, which we can talk about as well over time. So these are some of the alternatives I want you to know. You can do your research. You can get to know what stocks to buy. You can try to identify some of them in the market. And of course, if you're having a struggle doing that, you can always reach out to me, and we can have that conversation. So here are some of those alternatives, and I hope this helps you. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.